we onboarded 8 new regents. We launched the Intercollegiate Athletics and Student Athlete Health and Welfare Committee as a new standing committee. And Jeff, the chair of that, is going to tell you a bit about it today. We installed 3 new presidents. We opened 4 major buildings and demonstrated through the successful in-person return of students, faculty, and staff to our campuses that we can operate safely in this pandemic. At the same time, we also focused on the future and on setting the course for a stronger university system. We are in the throes of developing a strategic plan that will position the USM to move beyond excellence to preeminence, affirming our mission and values and redefining our vision. We've examined our brand and began the work to raise visibility and public awareness of the USM in order to better demonstrate the system's value to the state and its citizens. To address the predicted national decline in college attendance, we are developing strategies to increase the state's college-going rates, provide upskilling opportunities for working professionals, and innovative programs, credentials, and course delivery. We launched 2 presidential searches. That makes me unhappy, by the way, to appoint new leaders for UMBC and Salisbury as Presidents Hrabowski and White prepare to step down. And we continue to work on issues related to affordability and the health and wellness of our students. In many years of service on this board, I can say with certainty that the intensity and volume of work in which the system is engaged is unmatched. So as we convene this year-end meeting and begin the holiday season, I want to share my gratitude to all of the employees of the university system and the USM office, to our presidents, the chancellor, and to my fellow board members. I also want to thank our partners throughout the state, which include the governor, his cabinet, the speaker, the president, and elected officials. We can all share collectively in this year's success, and I thank you for your hard work and support. Please give yourselves a round of applause. Turning to our agenda, we will first hear from Aminta Breaux, president of the Bowie State University. President Breaux's leadership continues to shape Bowie State in profound ways. From the new $50 million, $42 million, I got 50 on the brain now, the new $42 million entrepreneurship living learning community opening earlier this year to the Bowie Bold fundraising campaign announced just yesterday. President Breaux is leading BSU to new heights of excellence and impact. Following President Breaux will be our education forum. Lindsay Ryan, USM's Venture Development Director, will present on USM's impact on workforce development and economic growth. This message that the USM is a powerful economic engine driving Maryland forward is being heard more and more. We need to continue to amplify it. And the forum. After the forum, we will hear from our chancellor, Dr. Perman. And so, Dr. Breaux, I'll turn the podium over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And good morning and welcome to Bowie State University. It is so wonderful to have you all here today. Chancellor Perman, thank you so much, and Madam Chair and Board of Regents for coming out last night and for your support of our campaign. Yes, indeed, we're off to a great start, and I have no doubt that we're going to cross over the finish line with the support that we have received throughout the alumni base, the community, and friends of BSU, and from some of you, the amazing support that we've garnered from each and every one of you. We so appreciate everything that you are doing for BSU, and especially for our students, which is the heart and soul of why we do what we do. I will keep my remarks brief as we have some special guests with us who will be introduced shortly. Since the Regents last met on the campus, much has happened. But during the pandemic, I want you to know Bowie State University has accelerated. We have accelerated our efforts and stayed focused on our strategic plan entitled Racing to Excellence. Our plan that goes until 2024 includes 3 priorities, and I am known to test people around here, so I just want you to know. Our 3 priorities are academic excellence, student success, and the long-term viability of the institution. I'm pleased to say we have made great progress in each of these areas. As you arrived onto the campus, I hope you noted the new facility that's just on the edge of the campus that helps us to enhance and deepen learning and student success. It is a public-private partnership project designed to transform our model of education by bridging learning environments. That facility, the Entrepreneurship Living Learning Community, as you mentioned, Chair Goodman, is a $42 million building. It is comprised of 3 components: a residence hall to accommodate the high demand for housing and our growing enrollment. It also includes our own Entrepreneurship Academy and our partners, the Bowie Business Innovation Center, a business accelerator for small and startup businesses. And the third component is a commercial space for students to get a bite to eat, to commune, and to showcase their products and businesses. The Entrepreneurship Living Learning Community opened in August, and as some of you know, it opened, I need a drum roll around here. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, everyone. It opened on time, on budget, and fully occupied. Thank you. The ELLC is just one component of the larger goal of ensuring our graduates leave BSU prepared to face a rapidly changing world with an entrepreneurial mindset. This is just one of the achievements we have realized in spite of the challenges we have faced during COVID-19. But I would be remiss if I didn't highlight the most recent accomplishment that has been showcased in the media quite a bit, and that is the achievement of our BSU football team that brought energy and excitement to the campus and the larger community. Our Bulldogs advanced the farthest ever in the NCAA Division II playoffs, making it to the 3rd round where they lost, unfortunately, but to a great team. It's a good team, Valdosta down in Georgia. But before doing so, they achieved their 3-peat championship of the CIAA. And with regard to the strategic priority of long-term viability of the institution, again, last night we did launch the public phase of the capital campaign. And thanks to all the great supporters who were there, either in person or virtually, we thank them all for their contributions that have raised so much towards our $50 million goal. We are now up to just about $40 million of our goal. We are thankful to, thank you. Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say, and BSU has been recognized for our growth and excellence in many areas, including STEM fields, education, communication, social sciences, and government, to name just a few. Today, we are joined by special guests who are here to share information about one of our areas of excellence that is part of our campaign, the Fine and Performing Arts. Joining us today is Professor Tio Makushua Williams, the Chair of Fine and Performing Arts, to share with you some faculty student highlights for the department. He will introduce our students who are accompanying him today. Professor Makushua Williams, please come forward.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming back to Bowie State. And this is very much an exciting time to be here. This is exciting for me as a graduate of Morgan State, a graduate of UMBC. So again, staying right here in Maryland. I'm gonna do my best. Let me look at my clock. I'm a filmmaker and animator. I'm gonna stick to the scripts. I know I have 10 minutes. It's gonna be hard to get 10 minutes of all the great things happening in the Department of Fine and Performing Arts. So I'll do my best. So again, I'm chairperson. I'm also the coordinator of an exciting program called VCDMA, which is Visual Communication and Digital Media Arts. We offer concentrations in fashion design, including costume design, advertising design, animation and motion graphics, which I'm going to be focusing on today, digital cinema and time-based media, as well as digital media arts. I'm also proud to say we're the only HBCU, and I think school, one of the few institutions in the country with a minor in hip hop studies and visual culture. And I'll be teaching some hip hop courses next semester, so come on and join us. But in the DFPA, we say we create, we connect, and we inspire. And so you can go to the next slide. Thank you so much. All right, so keep on moving. So President Bro's given us this task of racing to excellence. So we're trying to keep this moving. I want to keep it moving as well. You can slide up a little bit. So keep on moving. If you knew this group from back in the day called Soul to Soul, came out in the 90s, keep on moving, don't stop. I won't sing, I'll stick to animation. Anyway, keep on moving, don't stop, like the hands of time, click, clock, find your way. I just thought this is really the theme. And this is actually our season. We have a season kickoff in the Fine and Performing Arts using this theme of keep on moving, as well as being back to bold and back to life. So we'll talk about that in a minute. You can go to the next slide. So today I'm going to kind of wrap this up as much as I can, but I want to introduce these wonderful students that I have with me today. You can go to the next slide as well. Sorry. Okay, so you can slide past me. I already told you who I was, sorry. So yeah, so right here, right behind you, this beautiful building that we were in last night, again, a wonderful campaign that we had, Fine and Performing Arts. We have a studio that we're actually building that I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. So this is our computer lab, and you can scroll up just a bit, sorry. And so one of the new things that we're excited about this particular year is we've had some partnerships, some great strategic partnerships during COVID, which is very interesting. But we partnered with Leica animation studio, who was mentioned last night. Leica, if you've not heard of them, they are a stop motion animation studio. If you've seen films like Coraline and The Missing Link. And so we partnered with Leica to develop the first stop motion animation studio at an HBCU, and actually, I think at any institution here at Bowie State. So we're really, really excited. That will hopefully kick off in spring of 2022. We're also going to launch one of our first courses in stop motion animation. You can go to the next slide. Okay. So in addition to the partnership with Leica, we have a partnership with Harlem Fashion Row. Harlem Fashion Row, The Gap, and Icon 360. Both of all these organizations gave us a great donation to enhance our fashion design program and fashion design curriculum, where that's going to enable us to start kind of getting more into adding more technology to fashion, digital fashion shows, and 3D environments and virtual reality with fashion. So we're really excited about this partnership. And you can go to the next slide. With the hip hop studies program, as I mentioned, we're really, really excited about that. And that's just something that I don't know if you all know, but we've been fortunate enough to receive a hip hop collection from Cornell University. We have a hip hop collection that's over here in the Fine and Performing Arts. So this will allow our students to, do a lot of research, not only just on hip hop, but in visual culture and how it intersects with other areas and other disciplines. You can go to the next slide. Okay, scroll on up, sorry. So you can scroll up just one more, sorry. And so I'm going to introduce three wonderful young folks today, young to me anyway. Each of them represent the best in VCDMA. I'm going to introduce Everett Young, who is one of our seniors in animation and motion graphics. Siobhan Armstrong, who's one of our fashion design students, and Sharon Townsend. They're going to come up and each share a bit about some of the great things they're doing. I'll come back and kind of sum things up. Can you slide up a little bit? I'm going to go, you can just go past. I probably did 20 slides, so I'll overdo. All right. So you can pause right there. So again, Leica Animation Studio, before you bring up Everett, because Everett's going to be helping with Leica. So again, this is really, really exciting just to have this partnership. And we actually had one of our graduates. He wasn't VCDMA, ironically. He was VCDMA. He switched to studio art, but I still love him. But his name is Vincent Mento. He actually interned, with Leica and was hired as a camera director, so camera assistant trainee. So we're really excited about this pipeline to the entertainment industry, this pipeline to the animation industry, and excited for Vincent. So you can scroll up to the next one. Just some images of Leica and hopefully where we're going to be going. Okay, there's Vincent, I'm sorry. Perfect. So yes, and of course, if you were last night, he was there. So let me go ahead and bring up Everett. And Everett Young, again, just a wonderful student, kind of a colleague as well. He's helped me out tremendously, and I'm gonna let him share some of his work and some of the great things he's been doing. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Let me just start out by saying Bowie State is my second home. Like Professor Makeshwa said, my name is Everett Young. I am a VCDMA major with a concentration in animation and character design. I I'm happy to be a part of this this collective of awesome minds. It inspires me to bring forth my best. And I thank Professor Malkashua for helping me do that, under his guidance and tutelage. I was actually able to achieve an internship with Outlook Company, OVFX animation studio. It's in Baltimore, Maryland. It's owned by Trevor Price, former football player, played for Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens. And so, it is a dream of mine to work in an animation studio. So I do not mind the commute from Rockville to Baltimore. It's showed me, since I've been working at this internship, the inner workings of an animation studio, especially an African-American owned studio. You can probably count on one hand the African-American owned studios within the US. And it has inspired me to be Bowie bold and think about actually owning one of my own someday. And so, there's my slide. You can actually be able to see some of the work that I've actually created. The top black and white is what I've been actually doing on my internship. And we're actually working with the show called The Kulapari. It's a show on Netflix. We're actually doing a 3D film. And then the second one on the top left, that's actually going to be a part of my senior show. There's some animated GIFs that I've created. And then I've also done some actual digital imaging as well. So,
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm gonna keep it moving. So I'm gonna introduce Siobhan or CC Armstrong, fashion design, and I will be her assistant.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to Bowie State University. I'm super excited and thankful to be here. Thank you, Professor Makeshua. So as Professor Makeshua has said, my name is Siobhan Armstrong, but I'm known around campus as Cece. I'm originally from Paterson, New Jersey, and I'm a senior VCDMA major with a concentration in fashion design and a secondary concentration in costume design. So up here on my slide is just me and some of my many elements. So I've worked on several movies so far under Professor Francois. I started as an intern for BET my freshman year, and I've done about 9 movies right now. It's pretty funny because after this, I actually have to go back to set for filming. So I'm doing that, and I have a guaranteed job once I graduate. And if you were to ask me, thank you. And if you were to ask me about 4 years ago, where do you see yourself in the world of fashion? I would not have imagined I would be here. Just at the age of 21 years old, I already have a IMBD profile and everything. Thank you. I've been invited to work New York Fashion Week. I've also worked the recent VMAs. So this is just a couple movies that I worked on. That's my first red carpet event, and I was super excited, super thankful to be here. As you can see behind me right here, Professor Makeshua, for my senior showcase, I'm actually doing suits and business wear. So this is just one of my many pieces that will be featured in my fashion show coming up in May. So yes, I'm super excited and super thankful for all the opportunities that Bowie State was able to give me.
So keeping that moving, thank you. She's wonderful. So we have Sharon Townsend he's also a senior fashion designer, and I will assist him.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, so I'm Sharon Townsend, and I'm Sharon Townsend. This is a piece that I designed while being a Bowie student. As you can see up there, actually in the first slide that you just passed, this slide right here, it's also something that I'm currently working on and that I'm about to release this month. It's a sweater. As you can see, I'm into the crazy colors and things of that sort. So you can go ahead and go down. One thing that I'm very thankful for right now is how Bowie, they honestly, they keep us so connected, and what's going on just in the world, in the industry. This opportunity that I had right here was actually brought about by Professor Jennifer White. She told me about this last semester, and actually the semester before last. So I applied to be a target, basically a designer. Last year I was a runner-up. This year I was actually a winner. So if you want to see, if you all are curious, it should be out next month. So this is the design right here, the logo that I gave them, and just some examples of what they could use it on: t-shirt, a bag, and I also did like a little booklet. So yeah, and oh, if you keep going down, some things that I've dabbled in. Of course, this is my coat right here. Oh, okay, I guess that's it. So like I said, my name is Sharon Townsend. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right. Excuse me. So again, as you can see, we're truly having some exciting things. I do want to invite you all to come back. We have a wonderful season called Back to Bold, Back to Life in Fine Performing Arts. I cannot leave this microphone without mentioning music technology and Miles Frost, who is one of our students. Again, I know it's about VCDMA, but he technically is connected to us because he's in one of the films that one of our students worked on. But anyway, Miles Frost will be playing Michael Jackson on Broadway in the new Michael Jackson, MJ the Musical. And so just want to invite us. We're having a large trip going in March. So also very quickly, one of our students, Destiny Jackson, received an internship as a casting producing intern with NFL Film. She starts next spring. I could keep going on, but I want to keep moving. So thank you all for your time. And we really, oh, there's Miles. I'm sorry. We sincerely appreciate it. Please come back to Bowie State, and we look forward to having you. Have a great holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Really appreciate you and the students and all of your creative energy and all that you're doing around inspiring these young entrepreneurs and students. You are truly amazing. Stay Bowie strong and Bowie bold. And thank you for coming out today. Thank you for allowing us the time to showcase our students and the remarkable work that's happening with our faculty. So often we're talking about a lot of the areas around the campus and the STEM areas, and we're very strong in STEM and so many other areas, but we can't forget the fine and performing arts that create a much richer environment in society for all of us. So thank you, Professor. Thank you to our students. Could we give them another round of applause, please? With that, Madam President, I'll turn the microphone back over to you. Thank you for allowing time. I know time is short, so I will yield back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Bruin. Thank you for a very enlightening and great presentation to kick us off this morning. The talent is just immeasurable that's here at Bowie. We'll now have Lindsay, Ryan, I believe. It's Lindsay. Oh, okay. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. And Regent Leggett, did you want to say something first?
Just a moment. I think what we had just a moment.
On? Yeah, thank you. That was a very good introduction to what we're about to hear now from both Lindsay and Ellen. Some years ago, when we were looking at trying to bring Amazon to the Washington region, but more not in Virginia, but in Montgomery County, I had an opportunity to pull together many of the resources around the state collectively around education and entrepreneurship. And I was amazed at what I found. The impact of the university system on jobs, the tax base, the number of graduates, all had a profound impact on our presentation. That impact we're going to see a little bit of today, because I think it outlines for us, and we believe that we know a little bit about it, but I think we need to know just a little bit more about the impact that we provide. For those of us in the Washington region, we know, for example, that Shady Grove sits basically in DNA Alley. But around the entire state, every region of the state, the institutions of the University of Maryland are playing a very, very significant role, not only in their community, but throughout the entire state and the world for that matter. Today's presentation will just give us a snippet of what that impact is. I hope that we would hold our questions until the end, because we have an awful lot of people to go through in a rapid period of time. And so why don't we get started with Valerie and Lindsay to outline much of what I've just described in sort of general terms.
Thank you, Regent Leggett. Good morning, everyone. And I want to personally thank the Regent Leggett for his leadership as chair of the Economic Development Committee, and also for his guidance to me as I have stepped in to be more involved with economic development, at least temporarily. With the help of the University of Baltimore, we have been able to quantify and update USM's impact on the state's economy and workforce. And it is a very great positive impact. Lindsay, who's our venture development director, and she is currently our primary economic development staff member at the system level, is going to provide an overview of the findings of this updated study and what infrastructure is required to bring about these impacts. We're also glad to have, and I see him up there, Dr. Richard Clinch, the study director and the director of the Jacob France Center, with us via Zoom as well. As I hope you'll see, USM's economic and workforce development activity is not only exciting, but also important in delivering on our responsibility to be good stewards of public funding. We'll once again be able to demonstrate that a dollar towards the USM is a dollar invested and has a great return. This has always been true, and it's heightened as we navigate the changes in both our own economy and higher education. And now I'll ask Lindsay to give us an update on the report.
Thank you very much. And also thank you to Regent Leggett and Ellen as well for their guidance during this time. I guess I can do this maybe a little better. For their guidance during this time as well. It's an honor to be here to share information with you about the great work happening across the USM. Let's see, I do have some slides. There we go. Great. Often this work can seem like sort of the good news parade. Yay, great things are happening. It's always positive. You know, in the deepest, darkest points of the pandemic, was it really good to share good news that was happening about students, you know, making masks, and faculty researchers pivoting their research, and companies partnering with our universities to address all the effects of the pandemic, not just the health crisis? Yeah, it was pretty good to share good news then, I have to admit. But what I hope you learn today as well is that this is, again, a responsibility that we have. And also it's a responsibility that when we fulfill it, it actually helps us be more excellent as USM as well. So that's my goal today. We can go to the next slide here. And actually 2 more slides to the agenda. So today we're going to, again, go over some of the results from the impact study. It is much more voluminous than we can cover today. So I encourage you to read the full report on the website. We'll go over an overview of the supporting infrastructure that's required to bring about those impacts, and then take a quick look forward. So we'll go to the next slide, which is the big ticket slide, the one with all the dollar signs here. The top line, really important information here, is this value back to the state. So an analysis done one way by the Jacob France Institute shows us that in fiscal year 2021, on a state budget of $6 billion, USM employed more than 31,000 workers and generated an estimated impact of $10 billion in economic activity. And so that's wonderful. And that was an analysis done one way that is more conventional and kind of straightforward. But they also did a second analysis that was much more in depth, and it recognizes one key thing about our universities as opposed to other state agencies that employ people and spend money and what have you. Again, as Ellen said, an investment in USM is an investment in human capital, in the students that you just saw here, right? And so when we educate students, they have enhanced lifetime earnings. And many of our students, as a public state university system, they stay in state and then contribute to the tax base. And so when we look at it from just that perspective and not even anything else, we see that for every $1 invested in USM, there's 2 to 3 back to the state. This is a great cycle where it has benefits for the student, and those come back to the state of Maryland as well. On top of that, yearly, we have $3 billion in economic activity due to revenues from out of state, things like grants and contracts, students from out of state, and visitors. And while outside of the scope, affordability is outside of the scope of the study that was done, I did want to bring this into the context and holistic view. All of this is happening, but in the context of USM institutions remaining among the most affordable universities in the nation. It's, again, really important to look at it overall. So we'll go to the next slide and take a look at it from a second lens, which is workforce development. Maryland is nationally and internationally competitive when it comes to workforce development, and USM is a very big part of that. Not only are we, the major provider in the state of degrees, higher education degrees, but also in key occupational areas, and we have some of those listed here. And you'll see some other details in the full study about some of these programs. I wanted to make sure that we also understood this in the context of quantity and quality. So it's not just, well, how many STEM graduates are you producing, or business or health, but what are those learners learning? How are they prepared to enter the workforce? And are they able to communicate what they've learned as well? So a lot of this work wraps up into that. This looks very different in different industries and even amongst employers. So, what type of learning? It's already been mentioned about credentials and experiential learning, whether you're working with first time, looking to bring your workforce in and perhaps diversify your workforce with some of these new hires, or upskilling incumbent workers, such as UMGC helps employers do with their corporate learning solutions, for example. So, again, USM is a very big part of the competitive and nationally and internationally competitive position of Maryland. And particularly, we see this a lot in the rankings. A lot of them do revolve around STEM as well. It's a huge strength, and USM is a big part of that. So we'll go next to the third and final sort of lens with which to view this, and this is competitiveness. So the overall summary here is the research and venture support enterprise at USM is strong. Research is happening, it's creating inventions, and these are making their way out into the world in the form of products or services or other ways. And then on the other side, we've got venture support. This is not just for those technology companies, it's for many different types of companies, over 100 new companies per year and growing that we're supporting in various ways across our campuses that we track in greater detail as well. And in the middle, you can see the bridge between these two. There's 119 companies formed based on USM technologies since 2012. And that bridge looks very straightforward and short. I assure you that the path from the research to the company and the market is actually quite windy and can be long. Actually, the image here is of a new type of jet engine with no moving parts that's being developed by a startup out of the University of Maryland, College Park. And you can see in 2016 a prototype that they had developed. And I think that's actually pretty quick because that's a regulated industry. But it's again, exciting stuff. And at this point, I want to take a moment. Again, we mentioned at the top, but all of this is a fantastic impact on the state. But I want to highlight quickly again how it is a nice virtuous cycle. So, for example, the faculty and the students who are involved in this work, and the students that you see here today, they are looking at the world in a different way. They're going out into the workforce differently and better prepared. If they're researchers and they're staying as researchers, they're looking at their research differently, and that makes us more excellent in the enterprise that we do. If we go back one slide, and I know it's not usual to go back in a presentation, but in the workforce, because we contribute to this competitive environment, we have excellent businesses in the state, and excellent businesses in the state mean more opportunities for our students coming out. And if we go back one more slide, opportunities for students coming out mean students that are graduating and they're very happy alum. They have good jobs, good paying jobs. They're doing what they want to do. And they make great ambassadors for our universities, occasionally donors. No pressure, students. You didn't hear that. You don't have to worry about that for a while. But again, hopefully you see how this is just a great virtuous cycle and really important work. So we'll skip ahead a little bit. I know I need to watch our time here. Just wanted to give a couple highlights of what needs to be in place to make this all happen. So we'll go to the first one, which is culture and talent. We've heard it today already. I won't belabor it. But the next slide talks about this talent. So USM is part of a greater ecosystem. We call it an ecosystem. We take a word from environmental science, greater ecosystem. And if you see on the next slide as well, we have some examples. In that ecosystem, we are very well positioned. We are major providers of talent, researchers, innovators, entrepreneurs who don't call themselves entrepreneurs yet, creators as well. We marry that with the right environment for innovation and inclusion. There are policies and practices. And the magic key here is collaboration. How many companies did you hear today from the students and talking about what they've been learning? So all of that added together brings this excellence for the public good. And we've seen this, just one example, is some of this unprecedented economic development funding coming down from the federal government that we've been able to collaborate with multiple partners to go after it and try to achieve for the state of Maryland. So if we go to the next slide, we'll talk about the places and anchors. So this is great. Again, the ELLC, I love that because LLC is a type of business. So it's amazing. So places like the ELLC are actual physical places where our universities are providing that place, whether it's for entrepreneurship, whether it's for industry researchers to work side by side with faculty. We need these spaces, and USM is a major provider of them. We do still have challenges in certain areas with certain types of space that we can look at and see, okay, well, we need some work there. But Bowie State was not the only ribbon cutting during a pandemic that we had for these spaces. It's amazing, and it's important factor of this. And then the last piece of the puzzle here is a capital to support all of this as well. It often takes different forms. We've got federal government, private sector, the state of Maryland, and USM ourselves to support a lot of this activity that happens. And we see this capital being put to good use. Just one example is the Maryland Momentum Fund. And we can see some of the funding invested, how much it's leveraged back from other co-investors, and the job creation just so far. And it was funny when I was putting this together, to pull up an example of the Momentum Fund, because last time we did this economic impact study, we didn't have the Momentum Fund. And in fact, in many of the areas I just covered, we did not have nearly the infrastructure to support these activities. So I'm very excited to see, the next impact report that we do and what comes out of this. So again, looking ahead, we'll go to our last slide here, and want to just again wrap this back to, there's aspects of our USM strategic plan that are going to directly relate to all of this and enhance the work that we're doing. So very excited again to look toward the future, and I'm very excited to have some colleagues put some color around what I've been talking about today. And so we'll move to our panel, and we're kicking off with a live panelist, and the rest are joining us virtually, but our live panelist is from our host here at Bowie State. So Anthony, I've lost track of you. There you are. Excellent. Welcome up. Let's see here.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bowie State University. I am Tony Savia. I am the Vice President for Administration and Finance here at Bowie, and I'm going to share a little about BSU's plans for economic and workforce development to include our campus initiatives and our economic development plan. Just this past summer, BSU unveiled its first ever economic development plan. But before I speak about this plan, I want to share why we saw the need for such a document. One of our main overarching goals for the university is to infuse entrepreneurship across all disciplines. It's more than helping students start a new business or create products. Our focus is developing a new way of thinking, an entrepreneurial mindset. By 2024, it is our goal that every student at BSU will directly benefit from our entrepreneurial ecosystem, both on and off campus. Our ecosystem consists of several themes: bold and distinctive. This holistic, complementary suite of academic and extracurricular initiatives that position our graduates for high impact roles as entrepreneurs. Campus community. This is not just limited to our campus or geographic boundaries. This is to interact with the community, travel to internships, volunteer, giving back to the community, or the completion of a class project connected to entrepreneurship. Student success. As part of the ecosystem, we recognize the need for a central hub, and just this past August, we opened our new Entrepreneurship Living Learning Community. Home to the Entrepreneurship Academy and the Bowie Innovation Center, or BIC as we refer to it, the only business accelerator located on a Maryland HBCU campus, helps leverage BSU academic and co-curriculum programs, expose us to business and community partners, and cultivate a spirit of innovation throughout the campus and region. Our economic development plan. In 2017, the university developed and began implementing a new strategic plan. In January of 2021, we completed the update to our facilities master plan. But we also realized we need a separate document or guide to help build economic development growth. This new strategic document encompasses a variety of goals, actions, and implementation strategies to guide sustainable and measurable economic growth. The overall plan consists of an overview, framework, planning process, vision, themes, recommended actions, and implementation matrix to ensure success. Like our entrepreneurship ecosystem, several themes emerged in the development of this plan. Placemaking, a multifaceted approach to planning, design, and management of public spaces. For us, this means capitalizing on existing assets and adding new resources to create a strong sense of place for BSU faculty, staff, and students. Community. This is the cornerstone to any successful anchor institution. We must create a strong relationship with our internal community and in turn, create ties that connect with the external local community. Growth. Referencing the expansion of the university's physical footprint, but also growth of the university's name recognition, visibility, and extension of BSU's instructional reach. And finally, innovation. This can mean many different things, but for us, as I previously mentioned, it's our goal to embed all students with an entrepreneurial mindset. The plan offers 22 actions we can undertake over the course of the next 5 years to help grow the university's influence and role as an economic generator in the county and region. I've only touched the surface, but feel this gives you a good sense of BSU's approach and direction to economic development. Thank you, and I would like to turn to my colleagues at Frostburg.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, Regents, Chancellor Perman, and Presidents. My name is Al D'Elia. I'm Vice President at Frostburg State University in Regional Development and Engagement. And that—
Al, can you check your setup because we can't hear you speaking?
Okay.
And while he's doing that, we have some colleagues from around the system who are each going to take just a few minutes to highlight a different part of workforce and economic development that their university is working on. Al D'Elia from Frostburg.
Is that any better? Can you hear me, Ellen?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
Can we try one of the other panelists and make sure that, Greg, could you?
We can
or
hear him
Julie?
online. We can hear
Nope.
Al online.
Okay, so.
We can hear him.
Can we try
It's
again?
not you, Al.
It's not me. Can the folks in the room hear me now?
We did test this.
I can hear you.
So they can be heard online, but not in the room.
Unfortunately, the folks online know most of what we're doing already.
Al, can't hear you.
I don't,
Not that we might not learn something, Al.
right. But they can hear you online, right?
Yeah, we
No.
can take some
Oh,
questions.
they can't hear
or
anybody online.
comments.
They can't hear any of us.
Okay.
They're having technical difficulties, I assume.
Apparently.
Glad you got to go before me, Al. Thanks.
It's good to be a guinea pig. I wonder if periodically we have to say testing 1, 2, 3 to see if they hear us.
It's a shame your 4 minutes are already up.
Are you talking about within the state of Maryland or where does?
Within the state of Maryland.
Yeah, no, I mean, we didn't have that in the study directly. We do know, of course, that we produce the lion's share of all graduates. We are doing a study right now, actually, Lindsay and Claire Broder Johnson are doing a study on venture capital need in the state for early stage and pre-early stage company startups. And this is being done in collaboration with reaching out to other funding partners across the state, including TEDCO, to try and size the need for venture money and what part we should play in it.
Yeah, I'm actually asking something much simpler than that.
Okay.
In other words, if you take the 10.4 billion of economic activity and the metrics used there, or the 32 or 33,000 employees and their economic and the economic activity associated with that, any idea where that ranks within the state, other organizations in the state?
Go ahead. Yeah. We don't have a benchmark around that yet as part of the study, but we have some answers.
Yeah, so recently, it depends on how recently other folks have done theirs, but with the straightforward metric and analysis, it's a little easier to compare. And Economic Development
If they're having some problems.
recently did a study as well. I believe they had about $2 or $3 billion of impact affiliated with that agency. So that is one that, again, when we look at the economic one comparison.
Can you comment on the Momentum Fund and how many funds remain in that? And how long will that last us?
We're going to bring that forward to a future meeting, probably the February series of meetings, with an analysis of what we have left, which is about 3 or so, less than 3 million out of the 10. And part of why we're doing this study of what the need is in the state and what our partners are doing is to have a fresh take on what role USM should be playing in that part of the startup world. So we'll bring that forward in more detail with a recommendation. Also at Regent Leggett's direction as per the Economic Development Committee, he's encouraged us to look at a stage of business development that would precede the companies that are eligible for Momentum Fund based on our investment criteria. And Lindsay has done work across the state, bringing together groups to identify the needs of those earlier stage companies, which not surprisingly, yes, a little bit of money, but really a lot of help with mentoring, placemaking, and so forth. So we're going to be bringing that forward probably in the February cycle of the Finance and Economic Development Committee meetings.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Madam Chair, just a question. To the Research Triangle of North Carolina, it would be good to get that.
And we are
benchmark.
specifically talking to our partners in the state from a economic bring forward the comparisons with versus a Massachusetts versus a California,
Yes.
and how we should think about that going forward.
Yeah, I think we're clearly having technical difficulties. And so we're going to continue with the questions, but we're not going to be able to bring the panelists on.
Okay.
So can we stop that so that we can get the audio back in the room? And we'll continue the questions that the regents have on the material that Lindsay presented.
Thank you.
I guess that means we're done.
Go ahead, finish your.
I finished. That was,
Linda,
Yes.
can I make a comment?
Mhm.
So do we? Looks like we discontinued our feed.
I think we've just been tossed off.
I think we
Okay.
have.
All right.
I still see Ellen.
Yeah, I just think they cut
I
off.
don't-
Yeah.
No, Ellen has been cut off from me.
Well,
Okay.
great job, everybody. Fired.
I'm going to get back to my vacation in that case. All right.
Me
Take
too,
care.
Al.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, I think
And as I mentioned, as I'm, as I mentioned, what I was trying to do is draw a connection between what we just heard and the work of the branding and strategic communications work group. Because, and the reason I asked the question I asked, and I think to Freeman's question as well, those messages are critical to what we're trying to accomplish.
That's right.
And I think that when you talk about the value of student-centered higher education, when you talk about who the system is and what the value of the system is, this economic impact is a huge pillar and component of that. And so I just hope that we can work together and figure out a way to develop some messaging and some talking points around this economic impact that we can fold into the marketing, branding, and communications for the system, because it's great that we hear it all, but the people that need to hear it are way outside of this room and way outside of the system. It's everybody else in the state. It's everybody in Annapolis, and it's folks around the country understanding what this system is doing and the impact it's having.
I couldn't agree more. And one of the things we're really pleased with in this report, and there is a much larger report that is available for everybody, but Dr. Clinch has done an estimate based on a cohort of graduates from a particular year that takes that lifetime earnings and starts tying it to true benefit to the state in terms of things like taxes collected and so forth. And I think Regent Ganella, some of those messages will be important as we think about communicating with other parts of the state, the value of the system.
Theo?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to put a PS on Regent Ganella's comment, I think that economic information that he had suggested we look at in depth will be a tremendous fundraising benefit for our campuses. If the word gets more defined and expanded about the benefits that the dollars bring to the community, bring to the state, I would think that would be a great incentive for those people who are our valued donors to step up and do more.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Oh, Daryl?
So Ellen and Lindsay, I just wanted to ask this question because I feel that the numbers are a little low. For example, if you take all the startups that have come out of our institutions and you just do the market capitalization of those startups, it's tens of billions of dollars and thousands of employees in the state of Maryland, especially if they stay in the state of Maryland. So I just want to understand how the analysis was done.
So if you're referencing the 10.4 billion, so there's a standard kind of economic model where you look at direct impact and then you estimate and you use a multiplier for indirect. And if you get 3 economists in a room, you'll have at least 3 different opinions of what that should be. And we specifically did not include market capitalization for non-public. And we didn't, INQ, I don't think is in here either.
So,
Yeah.
We didn't look at that.
Yeah.
We tried.
Yeah. So that you're correct. That is not in here. We think this is a conservative number. But yeah, that whole issue of the knock-on effects of all these other activities is one where there's a lot of debate about how to estimate that. Yeah.
For making sure that the other entities are doing it in the same way
Yeah,
you're doing
apples
it.
to apples.
that's
Yep,
exactly right.
I think Dr. Goodman.
Yeah.
And actually, if I could just make one point, I thought that was a great report and it certainly sends a great message. But I think one of the things that the university system of Maryland does extremely well is you showed the connection applied research, tech transfer, spin-off. But beneath that, there's a tremendous and a very good balance between the fundamental research that may benefit 1 or 2 decades into the future that you really need to support the applied research framework. Your GPS, the microwave, this all came from totally different areas of research, but of course had a tremendous impact on life. And I think USM at the institution level, but also at the system level, has a really good balance between the pure research and the applied research.
Yeah, Gary.
I just wanted to say, I thought it was an excellent report. I mean, it's so vast. There's so much that it would take, a lot more time than we have today, obviously. Just one talking point that we might have mentioned briefly, but I think is really impactful, is if you look at the value of a bachelor's degree compared to not going to college, because I'm always running into young people who say, well, college is, for your generation, maybe it's not right for me. You can make as much money doing different things. And in many cases, that's true. A lot of billionaires didn't graduate from college. I get it. But for most people, if you go to college, the data here shows at least your lifetime earnings are $2.5 to $4.2 million enhanced. That's a really good messaging point as we're trying to raise the number of college graduates, to 55% throughout the state. So just a great report in so many other ways as well. So congratulations.
And that number used to be $1 million lifetime.
I know.
So you can see what's happening in the economy, and we see this in other ways. 75% of all future jobs require post-secondary education, et cetera. So I couldn't agree more. We have to find a way to change the narrative about the value proposition for post-secondary education.
Linda? I know we're running out of time, but I don't want us to leave here with all happy memories about what we've just heard, because there are some challenges. Freeman raised one of them. And I looked some time ago at other states in Michigan, Washington State, Massachusetts, North Carolina, you mentioned Texas. It is clear that given the resources that we have throughout our system, we are still fighting below our weight. And we've done a great job, but we can do even better, I think. In addition to that, we need to make certain that the growth, the entrepreneurship, and the business opportunities are fairly well dispersed throughout the entire state. And that's a concern that I have. And by changing some of the requirements under the Momentum Fund, we may be able to help some of our institutions that are not part of the very large programs that we have thus far. So the concerns that I have are making certain that we get to the level that we should comparatively. Secondly, how we can be much more diverse in a variety of ways. in how we disperse the resources and have impacts across the state, whether you're in Western Maryland, Eastern Maryland, or the central portion of the state. Those are some of the concerns that I think we need to address. And they also have political implications, because if we're in Annapolis, seeking resources from the state, with our delegates and senators, they're going to look to see what we're doing in their districts throughout the entire state. So we have to address that. But I think that we have a model and we've raised the right questions, but let's not leave here today assuming we have arrived. We're a long ways from that, but I think that we've made some great strides.
And Regent Leggett, I believe that you have a study that, and working with Ellen underway to examine those things, and the board should be aware that we'll be back to discuss that and to get your support on incrementally improving the Momentum Fund. Yes.
Adding to that, it seems to me that it's such an important point about helping our state legislators, public policy people, funders, and the public know how important this is, that I would just suggest that as we go to different campuses, in addition to whatever they would normally do, that a part of it would involve impact on that community. Because we need to reinforce with everyone that this is important, getting people jobs and starting companies wherever you are throughout the state. I just think from the Eastern Shore up to Baltimore. So just a suggestion.
That's a great suggestion, and I'm sure Kelsey captured it over there. And before we close out this section, though, the Chancellor would like to speak.
Well, number one, I appreciate on behalf of the presidents and the USM leadership, the strong interest and support of the Regents. I wanted to share with the Regents something that I've discussed extensively with Regent Leggett, and that is the evolution of the commitment to research and innovation at the system level. With Tom Sadowski's departure as our effective Vice Chancellor for Economic Development, it occurred to me that frankly, what was missing in our emphasis at the system level was the research piece. And I think you've all recognized that research and innovation are inextricably linked. So I consulted with President Pines, President Gerald, President Rabowski, where, as you point out, the research innovation enterprise is rich and effective. And yet across all of our campuses, scholarship is going on, research is occurring, people are competing for grants, and increasingly there is an interest in commercializing what's being done across the system. So, and I must tell you, I'm exceedingly grateful for Lindsay stepping into the breach, and Lindsay will continue to do this great work. But we are developing a job description based on my consultations with colleagues here to expand that role in the system office to not just economic development, but how do we grow the research enterprise? How do we bring everybody into the fold? How do we facilitate collaborations? Ours is a far-flung system, despite the fact that we're a small state. People don't know what others are doing across the campuses. I've learned that by getting around. We need that facilitated. So I simply want to report to the board that we are going to expand the role of economic development within the Chancellor's office to tie it to the research mission where it belongs.
Well, I in light of the technical difficulties, I feel badly that our panel prepared and didn't have an opportunity to speak. But I'd like to thank Anthony from Bowie State, Al from Frostburg, Jim Hughes from the University of Maryland, Baltimore, Julie from College Park, and Greg Simmons from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County for preparing. And we apologize for the technical difficulties. And I'd also like to thank Chair Leggett for leading this committee, and Ellen for stepping up, and for Lindsay making sure that all of these trains run on time through Tom's absence. And so thanks to all of you. Thanks for the good questions and the great discussion. 119 companies, $10.9 billion of economic development, and over 32,000 jobs. Even if that's a low number, it's a great number. And we can all take a lot of pride in that.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I had one correction.
Yes.
When we were talking about how we expand this throughout the state, I want to correct Freeman. He said from the eastern shore to the western portion of Maryland to Baltimore. The way we said where I'm from the eastern shore to the western portion to Montgomery County. So I just want to.
Of course, we had to get that in. All right. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the Chancellor to do the Chancellor's report.
Let me acknowledge Montgomery County right at the outset. Even though I'm in Prince George's County and happy to be here. I want to add my thanks to Lindsay, to Ellen, certainly to Chair Leggett for all that they are doing to measure, sustain, grow our economic impact. We do talk a lot, as we should, about our core missions, education, research, service, and we don't talk enough about how these missions themselves translate into billions of dollars returned every year to the state and its people through our collective work. Yes, we are central to Maryland's strength and prosperity, and that's never been more important than now. As I get into my report, let me remind you that a fuller accounting of our achievements is in your materials and on our website. Let me start by acknowledging our gracious host this morning, Dr. Bro and Bowie State University. These are exciting times at BSU. I certainly learned that last night if I didn't know it before. Since our last board meeting, Bowie has joined a consortium dedicated to strengthening the STEM pipeline for county high school and community college students. It was one of 3 HBCUs selected for the first cohort of Penn National's new STEM scholarship program, ultimately providing more than $4 million to BSU and other historically Black institutions. It's a great achievement, an important area for BSU. At the same time, we have to celebrate the history-making BSU football team for reaching the quarterfinals of the NCAA Division II playoffs for the first time ever. And it's only fitting that Coach Damon Wilson was just named D2 Region 2 Coach of the Year. Congratulations. And we've already talked about the BSU Bold campaign kickoff. And Dr. Bro and her colleagues are making great progress toward achieving the goal. Colleagues, while it's been only a matter of weeks since we last met, I can tell you that there's been no shortage of good news across the system. At our meeting last month, I began with a few words about our university's prominence in the latest round of national rankings. Let me highlight today a few different rankings and awards, accolades that don't focus only on academic achievement, but focus on how well our universities educate engaged citizens and cultivate inclusive campuses, which is a foundational mission of ours. At an awards ceremony last month, the All-In Campus Democracy Challenge honored individuals and institutions whose work drove historic voter turnout during the 2020 presidential election. And well over half of our USM universities were recognized at that event. Gold seals went to institutions with a voter participation rate between 70 and 80%. And let me call them out: UBall, Towson, UMB, College Park. Silver seals went to institutions with voter participation between 60 and 70%. Frostburg, Salisbury, UMBC. Among universities across the nation, Towson was recognized with a campus award for the best Democratic Engagement Action Plan. And College Park's Alexandra Marquez was honored as standout undergraduate student in this regard. So congratulations for all of that achievement. Another national ranking recently shone a spotlight on our universities. 2 USM institutions received 5 stars, the highest rating possible from Campus Pride, whose work creates safer, more welcoming college campuses for LGBTQ students. Towson and College Park were among just 47 colleges nationwide to earn the recognition. APLU honored UMBC with its 2021 Gold Award in Leadership and Pervasiveness for Internationalization. UMBC is the only American university to receive the Gold Award, affirming its intentional work in creating a culture of global engagement. And of course, in last month's edition of Diverse Magazine, President Freeman Hrabowski was celebrated as the 2021 recipient of the John Hope Franklin Award. You know the luminaries he joined? The late Maya Angelou and Representative John Lewis. Quite an achievement. Last week, the USM's own Nancy Shapiro, our Associate Vice Chancellor for Education and Research, Education and Outreach, will receive this is going to happen next week, the Civic Leadership Award from Campus Compact Mid-Atlantic. This is a much-deserved acknowledgement of Nancy's shaping of a national civic education and community engagement agenda. I might say, mentioning Campus Compact, that Frostburg President Ron Nowacek is doing an extraordinary job as chair of Campus Compact, and UMES President Heidi Anderson is its secretary. So we are doing our part in standing up as civically engaged institutions and a system. I would also point out with regard to engagement with the community, which you know is a priority of ours. It's what the citizens expect of us. I would also point out that last week, COPN President Anthony Jenkins hosted the first meeting of the West North Avenue Development Authority, which is a collaboration of residents, business owners, and the university. And COPN is playing a central role in actualizing long overdue investment and development in the West North Avenue corridor. The Horn Point Laboratory at UMCES received a community and conservation grant from Waterfowl Chesapeake, which is a nonprofit dedicated to the celebration of life on Maryland's Eastern Shore. And that grant is going to advance UMCES' three-pronged goal of promoting science, education, and restoration in the community. Last month, UMES hosted the second annual Man the Shore Summit, which is focused on bringing diversity to pre-K to 12 education. What's the man part of it? Well, with Black and brown men making up just 4% of US teachers, which is an immense challenge in K to 12 nationally, it's critical that we undertake efforts like the one that UMES has undertaken to diversify the core of teachers educating and nurturing our children. Just last week, the USM at Hagerstown held its annual feast at Yuletide. They raised more than $50,000 in scholarship support for USMH students. Congratulations on that effort. And finally, in this theme of community and people appreciating us as anchors, I know that one of our colleagues had a wonderful surprise recently. Salisbury Mayor Jake Day announced that Camden Street in downtown Salisbury would be hereafter known as Chuck White Street. Now, that's a great recognition for Chuck. There's no Perman Baltimore Street. Freeman, will see what they do for you. You know, it's a recognition of SU's commitment to connecting the campus, the community. Now, over the past 4 weeks, since we last met, we have continued to advance our core missions: education, discovery, service, economic impact. Ting Zhang, Associate Professor of Economics at UBalt's Merrick School of Business, has been awarded a fellowship from the Association for Public Policy Analysis and Management. She's going to explore the relationship between public policy and entrepreneurship, very timely in what we've been talking about this morning. At Salisbury, Salisbury's making it easier for Pell-eligible freshmen to attend the university. This new program, which is called Seagull Pell Promise, will cover any tuition costs remaining once the student's scholarships, grants, and benefits are applied. I should also point out at Salisbury, with regard to our education mission, Salisbury nursing program is being expanded with a $1 million grant from MHEC, and this is a vehicle for getting nurses into the workforce more quickly. Same commitment to shoring up the nursing workforce animates efforts at UMB. The School of Nursing once again graduated its students early, 161 students, addressing this nursing shortage that is challenging us. And also at UMB, researchers at the Institute of Human Virology won a $6.5 million grant from the NIH to streamline big data collection in Nigeria and South Africa. Why is that important? It's an effort central to addressing public health needs as these countries grapple with two pandemics which ultimately make a difference to us, COVID and HIV/AIDS. Last week, UMB School of Medicine made a big splash in the scientific community when researchers revealed that they found a new gene variant in Amish populations that's linked to a lower risk of heart disease. So you see the implication. That kind of a discovery can jumpstart the development of therapeutics which mimic that variant, which I would argue would be good for all of us. College Park has announced significant funding, $32.5 million, to extend a cooperative agreement with NASA, through which the university oversees the space agency's data on asteroids, comets, meteorites, and other small objects in space. It's an area for which College Park is known for and has made significant contributions. And just last week, College Park and the Department of Defense opened the Applied Research Lab in Intelligence and Security to protect the United States against national security threats and shape the country's intelligence workforce. UMGC continues to expand its reach, amplify its impact. It's established a partnership with the Community College of Philadelphia that will open up UMGC's online programs to more than 22,000 students. Shortly after, several of us gathered at the USM at Southern Maryland to celebrate the opening of the SMART building. Great recognition occurred in this market. WTOP in Washington, D.C. Filed an expansive story on our RHEX people, mission, the facility's promised impact in education, research, and economic growth. Very clear message to our contributions around the state. And staying with the RHEX, USG held its first generation celebration, recognizing the achievements of the center's first gen students. The celebration featured Senator Van Hollen, who praised the USG's ACES program, which provides local students a seamless transition from high school to community college to USG. And there's one final news item I want to mention. The Mellon Foundation has given UMBC, College Park, and Morgan $3 million to develop a higher ed leadership pipeline for scholars in the arts and humanities, with an emphasis on growing leadership among female faculty, Black, Hispanic, and Indigenous faculty. A clear contribution to our efforts to diversify the faculty. And when I say diversity, yes, race, ethnicity, gender, but this was not in STEM as we usually hear it. It was in the arts and humanities. So there's another piece of diversity here. Diversity in discipline, which we've not necessarily had before. So congratulations to UMBC and College Park for that effort. Now, in other business, I want to share the USM's 2022 annual report is going to be released soon. That report details our system-wide success in areas that we are committed to: access and affordability, equity and inclusion, our academic quality, civic engagement, which I discussed, sustainability, workforce, and economic development. That report is going to be posted online, and I'll make sure you get a copy. Now, I thought today might come to pass with a first ever Chancellor Report, at least on my part, in which I don't mention the COVID pandemic. And that's not to be. I simply want to say that we're closely monitoring the Omicron variant, which, as you know, is causing great concern here and abroad. And yet we know that vaccination remains our best defense against infection and the spread of infection. And so, in consultation with the presidents, I've issued a statement urging all students, faculty, and staff to get their COVID booster shots as soon as they're eligible. The landscape of this disease is fast changing. That's been the characteristic of this disease. So we are constantly analyzing the data, paying attention to the science, and determining how they should influence our COVID protocols for the winter and spring terms. If we have to adjust current protocols, we'll share that information as soon as possible. Now, finally, I know you're all well aware that this is our last board meeting before winter break. And yesterday, you should have received my own holiday video message. If I may, I just want to repeat a part of that message so that I can thank everyone in this room for creating every day, and this was the theme of the message, the world I want to live in. A world where questions are welcomed and curiosity is rewarded, where an open mind and a compassionate spirit are prized above all else, where all people are included and listened to and treated fairly, where we celebrate human creativity and solve the grand challenges of our age, where the greatest joy is learning and the greatest pursuit is truth, where the foundational mission is to be of service to others. Colleagues, supporters, you make this world of ours sing. My hope for the new year is simply that we have the grace, the will, the clarity, the strength to keep doing this vitally important work of creating the future. Thank you all for doing that. And Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Are there any questions for the Chancellor and his report? Andy?
Yeah, just a quick thank you both to the Chancellor and to the campuses that are involved in the grant program that you just mentioned at the end, the diversifying leadership, especially along the dimensions of arts and humanities. I think that is a wonderful addition to our conception of diversity. The more different sets of opinions we have in the leadership pipeline, all the better. We all get stronger. So thank you to those of you who were leading it.
Thank you for that comment.
Any other questions or comments for the Chancellor?
Thank you.
Thanks, Chancellor. We will move on to the council reports, and we'll start with Dr. Brown.
Madam Chair, just a comment about Jay Perman. I've never seen anybody more supportive of all of us as he is. Can you give him another round of applause, please?
Here, here. It's my pleasure to give the report on behalf of the Council of University System Presidents. But before I give my formal remarks, I also want to add congratulations to President Hrabowski on behalf of CUS for receiving the Dr. John Hope Franklin Award, and also to President White for having that street named after you. Can you give them another round of applause, please? That's wonderful. The Council of University System Presidents continues to convene bi-weekly on matters related to COVID-19 and on the first Monday of each month to address broader system-wide matters. Since its November report to the board, CUSP met on December 1st and December 6th. The December 1st noon meeting focused on newly discovered Omicron COVID-19 variant, and Dr. Wilbur Chen, the UMB infectious disease physician scientist who has been immersed in the state's COVID response, participated in that meeting. The presidents discussed the current information available about the variant and the effects it may have on our campuses. At this time, the presidents will continue to encourage our faculty, staff, and students to get the COVID booster shots when they are eligible. During the December 6th CUS meeting, we covered a wide variety of system-wide topics, including academic integrity, the $15 hour minimum wage increase, strategic planning, the annual leave carryover for faculty, and the status of collective bargaining across the USM. Dr. Ann Kadamian also provided an update on the universities at Shady Grove, and her report was very well received. We look forward to partnering across the system with the universities at Shady Grove. In closing, I'd like to also add my wish for a very safe and happy holiday season and a very happy new year. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. We now have Ms. Harper, who will give the Student Council report. Good morning.
Good morning. It's so good to be in person with you guys. I'm all healed. My knee is better.
Good.
Hello. Hello, Madam Chair, Board of Regents, President, everyone. Happy holidays. So Freeman, I think we should name I-95 Freeman's Way. That's what I'm thinking. It leads right into UMBC. Been there long enough. I think we should propose that to Governor Hogan. Can we do that before you leave? So it's been a lot. That was a good report, Chancellor Perman. We've done a lot. In my report, you guys have that, I believe. This last semester, I'm very fulfilled with being in my position as president of the Student Council. Ada, Tola, you guys have been helpful for me for this semester, but we've done a lot. So I'm just going to highlight what we've done in the last meeting, since the last meeting that we met in November of 2021. So we had a joint council meeting. Layla, I get to go first. I'm going to tell. I'm going to get to tell this part. So CUSIP and CUS and USMSC, we met on November 17th, and we had a joint council meeting. Patrick and Andy, they joined us. Vice Chancellor Neal, he got to join us, and Chancellor Perman, they both had a Q&A, and it was fruitful. It was good. We got to just take some questions from students, faculty, and staff, and we just got to have a good dialogue and just have breakout sessions. And we had hosted 3 breakout sessions. Won't take too much. I'll leave some for you. We had 3 breakout sessions where we kind of circled back to what the plan was for the USM as a whole: diversity and inclusion, hybrid learning, and mental health, what we talked about all year. So we had 3 breakout sessions. We only allotted for 30 minutes. Within that 30 minutes, we realized very quickly we needed more time. And those breakout sessions were involved with students, faculty, and staff mixed in. It was a collaborative effort. So I took this information back to my executive team and my board of directors, which we all decided, hey, we need to have some town halls for this. So the students and I on the executive team and the board of directors decided that going into our spring semester, we want to focus on having individual breakout sessions. We'll focus on having town halls, maybe a mental health town hall, diversity and inclusion town hall, and then what does it look like? Maybe like a work from home, a balancing of work from home, balancing, how does that look? We don't know. We're figuring it out. It's all coming together. We're going to work through the winter into January, into February, when our next meeting will be. So that's where we are with those, just coming from our joint council meeting. We also stole this idea from President Bro, but we thank you for hosting us. But we took this idea from you, Wellness Day, and we will be having a system wellness day collective. We want to kind of share this idea with the university systems, schools, and the institution to kind of have a collective this spring semester where we all borrow this idea from Bowie and put this on our calendar year every year, not just this spring semester. Bowie hosted a wellness day the Monday before Thanksgiving break, which it drew a lot of attention around our council meeting. It was amazing. Going into it and then post the wellness day, students were very engaged about how it kind of helped them de-stress and prepare for finals and to kind of go into the holiday with just like relaxing. Layla even offered, I'll host the boxing, what did you say, the boot camp. I'll host the boot camp just to kind of de-stress, because sometimes you don't realize you're holding a lot of, I know for me, I hold a lot of stuff in my shoulders because, you know, typing. So thank you for doing that. And then it also relates back to the mental health. We got to pay attention to that. We're still living in COVID. And then the topic of everything, student regent. We had our interview. We had our interview section this past Sunday. Boy, we have a lot of great students, a lot. It was hard. You guys didn't tell me I had to do this. And I had to like interview some great people and I had to give them emails. Hey, you guys didn't make it, but do you want to come and work for the USMSC? So we had a lot of great students. Chancellor Perman, we sent the names on to you. So we got to send over 4 great qualified candidates: Towson, Salisbury, UMBC, University of Maryland College Park, University of Maryland, Baltimore, all provided us with a ton of students. It was a 5-hour meeting. Usually have 3. It was a 5-hour meeting, but it was great. It was all good stuff. So we sent those names over, great candidates. I did something different this time. Instead of having Joe and Zakia send over, you know, the email that says, sorry, didn't make it, we'll see you next year. I asked if I could send an email and I offered them all a position within the USMSC. You don't turn people away and say, sorry, try next time. What do we do to fix it? Hey, you couldn't, this wasn't for you this year, but come and work with us. Let's see if we can find a position that fits for you, like a community involvement. Can we get you on a committee? I offer them positions inside of our executive team, inside of our board of directors. All, if not everyone, and the only reason I say if not everyone, because this one young lady is taking her last final today, and we're gonna have a call on Monday, and she's gonna probably join. But they all want to come and work with us. It's all about just growth. We're all students. We're all trying to get to the next level in our professional careers. So if we can help you in any kind of way, let's do that. So it was not all bad. Like they said, okay, if I can't make it here, we can move forward in another way. It's working together, not apart. So that was a good process. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. We'll leave that there. The next thing I wanted to highlight was the connection with the students. For me, it's about in my first leg of my term was about understanding what the students need. I understand what they need, but I need to understand it a little bit more. So my thing is about connection. So within this next, I say 6 weeks, I've set up a goal for myself to do more one-on-one sessions. I understand it needs to be a break, but I also need to be a better president, but I don't want to have that head of president. I want to be more of a peer to who I'm representing. So I've set up one-on-one sessions. I want to have more office hours to say. Office hours, I do air quotes because I'm always available. I tell anybody, here's my cell phone number, it's in my Ada's on this. I always say, right? Here's my cell phone number, is in my email. Call me at any time, text me, because I want to be available for the students. So I set up one-on-one sessions with the undergraduates and the graduates council where we can talk. I don't want you to wait to the next Sunday meeting to tell me what's wrong or what not to say an issue. It's all about being innovative and to problem solve in the moment and not wait and come together and say, hey, this is wrong, this is wrong. How do we come together as a collective and kind of fix and solve the issue? So that's where we are. Our next meeting isn't until February. However, I have planned to do something where it's more of a team building in January. So we'll be January 16th. Will be our next meeting, maybe like a lunch or something to kind of get to know each other because we've been doing a lot of virtual things. I wanted to do something more moving our students into a setting like this, but the new variant, we're not sure. We want to keep the students safe. So we may stay online, but if they feel comfortable, we want to do something where we do like a launching or something on January 16th, I'm sorry. Session does start soon, so we have to be careful about that. But I'm open for any questions. If anyone has any.
I might just comment that we have the 4 nominees that you sent up to us.
Yes.
And Ms. Wilkerson and I have them scheduled for interview this week. And then we will send up our thoughts to the governor.
Yes.
So thank you for your hard work in that regard.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And they're all great. And one of the candidates, if I may add, at our joint council meeting, you took a question. And one of the candidates, it was one of the young ladies' question. The one question that you asked at the joint council meeting, it was one of the young ladies' question. So that was a good thing. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your report. And I'm glad you're feeling better and you're with us in person today.
Yes, thank you. And I have holiday cards for everyone. So please, if I don't see you before we leave, if you see me following, you're like, hey, wait, that's why. Okay. So, thank you guys.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Shinner will do the university system staff.
Thank you, Chair Gooden. Good morning, everybody. It's still morning. Yes, it's 10:15. So Yvonne did a wonderful job of recapping many of my highlights on behalf of the Council of University System staff. So I will give you back a little bit of time and not re-emphasize all of those pieces, but I do want to echo her appreciation to Chancellor Perman and Vice Chair Neal for joining us at the Joint Council's meeting, and then also to Patrick and Andy for helping us debrief the previous legislative session and prepare for the upcoming legislative session. We are well underway planning for Advocacy Day 2022, which I did want to share with this group will be on Wednesday, February 16th. So the councils are looking forward to coming together, very likely virtually again this year, to advocate on behalf of the USM and all of the amazing work that we do in Annapolis, but online on that date in February. Of course, our Legislative Affairs and Policy Committee from CUS is working with Yvonne's team and with Elizabeth's team, who I see is now online, to make sure that we are a joint collaborative force in promoting everything that the system does on behalf of faculty and staff and students together. So our joint council meeting in November and Advocacy Day in February are 2 of our big events that we host across the councils. But as we've heard time and time again, this pandemic has really brought our 3 councils closer together. So we are collaborating on many other areas as well. But those are our 2 annual larger scale events. I did want to reemphasize too something that Yvonne said with the 3 breakout groups that we did at the joint council meeting: diversity, equity, and inclusion, mental health challenges and resources at each of our campuses, and the hybrid work and learning environments that we are all kind of navigating together right now. I think our hope is to have some discussions around those with our respective constituency groups, but also to continue our discussions across the 3 councils, recognizing that those are matters that impact all 3 of our groups. And it's a great chance for us to collaborate, as we have been doing, to think about how we work together to figure out where we go from here and how we best support the groups that we represent. So we will look forward to hopefully either, I've been kind of calling them chats with the chairs. So myself, Elizabeth, and I know Yvonne is a president, not a chair, but chats with the council leaderships to share, for folks to have a space to share how they're feeling about those topics and where they think we can make changes, but also to even share some of the best practices that we're doing at each of our campuses, right? So there are some really phenomenal things happening in each of those areas that we can share if we are having more time together to discuss. The other thing, and this is something that I took from Yvonne, we are thinking within our council about doing something in March 2022 to reflect on 2 years of being under this pandemic. And so giving our staff group the space to just think about where we started, how far we've come, what lessons we've learned as we are about to be at 2 years, which just feels a little crazy to say out loud. My only two other highlights are we did just recently have our December meeting, which was our last meeting for 2021 this past Tuesday. And we look forward to reconvening in the new year on January 18th. We will be hosted virtually by UMGC. So we look forward to that. We will continue to meet virtually through the spring semester. We have had great participation and attendance in our virtual meetings. And so with almost 55 people on our council, it's just more realistic for us for now to continue to stay online. And then the last thing I did want to share is we were able to put together a fall edition of our CUS newsletter that is attached to my report for anybody who's interested in hearing more about what the council has been doing so far this year. The last thing I want to echo is I definitely think we should name 95 after Dr. Hrabowski. We're already thinking maybe Hilltop Circle needs to become Hrabowski Circle. So we're very excited for that idea. And I want to wish everybody a happy holiday season. I know we're all ready for a little bit of a break, and I hope everybody has a wonderful end to the year. Thank you. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Lyle? Well, hearing none, thank you. And you have And now we have Dr. Brune, who's going to do the Council of University System Faculty.
Thank you, Chairman Gooden. And welcome, hello, everyone, and from afar, and I hope this holds up because it's been kind of weaving in and out on the tech side of things, so I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. I looked at my report the other day and I thought the title for 2022 should be the Year of Attitudes and Perceptions for CUSIF, because we are out to measure how people are thinking, feeling on numerous topics. To begin with, we're looking at academic integrity, and we're doing surveys, but we're doing it in a slightly different manner with the question of academic integrity. And we are looking at, we hope to be surveying faculty first to get their perceptions and ideas. I've given you sample questions, but you will, of course, be given all of the results of these surveys as they come back in the new year. And the point being that what we're trying to get attitudes, because it kind of goes back to something that we were learning very early when we're in our discussions about shared governance this year. And that is, we need to understand where everybody stands and what they perceive to be issues. I think that, in terms of faculty roles and what we can and cannot do, it's really important for us to be able to say, this is what faculty think. This is how they feel. This is where the gaps are in what we're doing and what we could be doing. So I think this is a good presentation. We're going to start with faculty attitudes, and then we hope to expand this as the year goes on to work with students. And this is true for academic integrity. And so we're starting with our faculty senate chairs, or the chair of, at my home school at UMGC, we don't have a senate, but we do have an academic advisory board. So everybody's a little bit different. And so we're going to be starting with them, hoping the leadership, and I hope they will be looking at their representatives to get some initial feedback. We also are having surveys being done with respect to technology and also COVID-19. And in these cases, we hope to get support from administration to get this out to the faculty at large in both of those cases. We've tried to keep the surveys very short, but we are looking at, in the case of technology, we want to look at the attitudes faculty have in their concern for the risk that they feel they're involved in their daily work, and what they feel might be helpful, what their access is to resources, and at least, again, their perceptions, whether there's reality, we don't know, but the perceptions here is something that we're concerned about. And in the case of the COVID-19 subcommittee survey, they are following up a little bit on their previous survey that kind of started all of our conversations around mental health in particular. last year, and they are following up, and they are on that topic, but others as well. And again, I've given you a sample question there that they're, about how they perceive their tenure track positions or promotion positions, how the COVID-19 experience is affecting it. And I think, again, attitudes, where are we? This is going to all, I think, help the whole major concern of mental health. If people have the opportunity to express how they're feeling, it allows us to understand how we might help and how we can, and what reality there is. We're all adults, so sometimes the best thing that we need to learn is why we're doing what we're doing and what really is the situation. It allows us to give, that's a stress release in and of itself. And so this year is going to be the year of surveys, attitudes, and perceptions. And we are trying to look into other means when we go back to the mental health issue with COVID-19, which I know is extremely important right now. Dr. Lee was very kind to invite me yesterday to come to the meeting of the USM system counselors, guidance counselors, and mental health counselors that we have on staff, so that we can get some better idea and expertise of what faculty can do realistically in their relationships with the students. We want to be able to help, but we do have some really trained professionals on our staffs on the various schools, what they could possibly be doing. But again, we need to know the constraints, what's there, what's available, and then we're going to come back to the table. We have drafted a resolution, and I'm taking that draft to that group to see what other ideas they might want to add and have for us to do. And this will be a resolution that we will propose to faculty at our next meeting in January. So that is where we're at. It's been it was a working meeting on Wednesday, and we did get a lot done, and I think we're going to be very busy as the year comes on. And I too want to wish everyone a happy holidays, and I don't know about anyone, but take some real time off. I considered the idea of changing my password the other day to vacation now with exclamation points, because that's what I need. So have a wonderful holiday, and thank you. If anyone has any questions. Oh.
It is now time for public comment. As you know, all regularly scheduled meetings of the Board of Regents will include a period for public comment. We have set aside 15 minutes for this purpose. To keep our board meetings focused on the business at hand, our guidelines stipulate that the request for public comment should address only topics on the current agenda. Requests to address topics not on the agenda will receive a response following the meeting. We received 4 emails for comment during the meeting. These emails express perspectives in opposition of the USM vaccine mandate. I will read 2 of the emails. Hello, my son is a student in the university system. I am urging you to rescind the mask and vaccine mandates that you have implemented. The mandates are unnecessary and quite possibly illegal. The science is now clear that young, healthy, college-age students are at greater risk from vaccines than they are from actually contacting COVID. Further, the vaccines and masks are doing nothing to stop or slow the spread of COVID-19. Thank you. A second email says, Dear USM Board of Regents, I am a parent of a freshman student at Salisbury University who has very negatively impacted by the current COVID mandates in place at USM universities. I respectively request an end to the mandatory vaccination program, including boosters and twice-weekly testing of unvaccinated students. Our health freedoms are protected by the U.S. Constitution, and just this week, the federal mandates have been temporarily blocked in court and should be suspended at USM institutions as well. We are well aware at this point that vaccinated individuals can and do contact and spread the COVID virus. So only testing unvaccinated individuals is not going to stop the spread, and vaccination, including boosters, should be voluntary. Instead, testing should be focused on symptomatic individuals to minimize the spread of the virus. And natural immunity should be recognized and accepted as equal to vaccination. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Laura Gallo. And so these are two of the emails that we received. I want to thank those individuals who took the time to share their thoughts with the board and assure you we will follow up with the authors following the meeting. Our next agenda item is the consent agenda. Decisions regarding which items to include on the consent agenda were made by me and the committee chairs. However, any regent may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda for separate review and discussion. Before I move approval of the consent agenda, I ask if there are any items that any regent would like removed from the consent agenda for separate review and discussion. Seeing none, then I move approval of all of the items on the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Well, then the motion carries. Now, we'll move to committee reports. First, we will cover the committee of the whole items, which include an item on faculty annual leave carryover, board elections, and committee chair assignments. Next, we'll hear from Regent Atman with a report from the Finance Committee, followed by Regent Ganella with a report from the Committee on Intercollegiate Athletics and Student Athlete Health and Welfare. It's quite a title we have on that committee. Associate Vice Chancellor Carolyn Skolnick will present the item on faculty annual leave carryover.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Gooden and Regents. With this item, the board is being asked to approve guidance that will allow institutions to temporarily amend the faculty annual leave policy. This action is intended to provide faculty the same flexibility that staff now enjoy. The amendment will allow faculty to carry over an additional 80 hours or 2 weeks of annual leave into calendar year 2022. Currently, 12-month faculty can carry over 400 hours under this guidance. Under this guidance, institutions could allow them to carry over 480 hours. If they separate from employment during 2022, they cannot be paid out for the additional 2 weeks. In light of pandemic circumstances that prevented some faculty from using all of their accrued leave, guidance was issued last year that allowed faculty to carry over this leave into 2021. This guidance would extend that option for 1 additional year. And I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have. Thank you.
Faculty annual leave carryover.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, the motion carries. The next action is the board nominating committee, and that'll be presented by Regent Pope.
Morning, everyone. The nominating committee met last month But prior to meeting, a email was sent to all of the regents, noting the individuals who currently occupied the chairs, the various 6 positions, and asked if those individuals wish to continue in those positions, and also asked if any other regents sought any of those offices. We did have some discussion because we did have some interest from regents who were interested in seeking positions. However, they did not feel that they wanted to go forward with an actual contested election or a challenge. The committee did discuss the possibility of putting some type of term limits on the 6 positions, since primarily, with the exception of chair, which is an exhausting position that Chair Gooden does extensively well, but the other positions are somewhat ceremonial, and so we're going to throw the ball over to the grievance committee to look at that at one of their future meetings. So since no other regents are challenging, let me read the nominations, and then we'll get a motion to close nominations. And then after that, we'll vote on the entire slate. So the slate is currently is for chair, Linda Gooden; for vice chair, Bobby Neal; for treasurer, Gary Atman; for assistant treasurer, Bill Wood; for secretary, Michelle Gordine; and for assistant secretary, Bob Roush. Can I get a motion to close nominations? For a second? Second. Okay. All in favor of closing nominations, say aye. Aye. Okay. Now we'll actually vote on the nominations themselves. I'll move the nominations go forward as presented. Is there a second? Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Congratulations. Those are your 6 newly elected board officers. That concludes my report, Madam Chairman.
All right, thank you, Regent Pope. And the committee assignments, the bylaws also state that the chair of the board shall appoint members of each of the standing committees for the coming year. The chairs of each standing committee have been identified for FY 2023. The full list is available in the materials. I have talked with each of the committee chairs, and thankfully, they all agreed to serve again. And there were no changes to their committee membership. And so the committees stand as presented in the binder. I don't believe this requires an action. It's an informational item. Is that correct, Denise? Okay, so our next report is from Regent Atman, and it's on the Committee on Finance.
Madam Chair, can I say something just very quick? I didn't want your reelection and the others to pass without saying thank you for your service, and for everyone else for your willingness to do this. It is an extraordinary amount of work, and you do it gracefully. All of you do. Thank you for all of the time, and congratulations on another term.
You're here.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Madam Chair. This is a report of the Finance Committee. And this item that we put off the consent agenda relates to the University System of Maryland amendment of the non-exempt salary structure, and it's an action item. As we all know, the employment situation in our state, and actually the entire country, is very dynamic today. At the USM, we're having a challenging time hiring and retaining staff. Our competition in many cases is not just other universities, but also government and commercial enterprises. In order to stay fair and competitive, the Chancellor has recommended, and the Finance Committee has unanimously agreed to recommend an adjustment to the USM non-exempt salary structure in order to establish a minimum wage of $15 per hour for all pay ranges. And I'd like to thank the Chancellor for getting out ahead of this issue, for being sensitive to the market and the needs of our staff. Attachment A in this item reflects the proposed new non-exempt salary structure, which upon passage will supersede any previously approved structure. As you can see in attachment A, the beginning salary of ranges 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be increased under the proposed pay scale to implement this change. This adjustment will be effective for the first full pay period beginning in January. Pay adjustments will be provided under this item to all full-time permanent employees whose current pay falls below the new $15 per hour minimum. I'd like to note, it's really important to note that this is just the first step in what is expected to be a multi-step review and commitment. Existing practices we've got to review that we have set up in the past to review salaries and salary ranges will be followed to examine whether future structural adjustments are also recommended to address any salary compression issues that may result from the new structure. We have a subgroup of the system-wide HR Council, which is called the Classification and Compensation Committee, which will undertake that review. As we reported out to the Finance Committee last week, the exclusive representatives for employee bargaining units were also notified of this action, and they may request to engage in collective bargaining over this change. I'd like to move this item, and then get a second, and then we'll see if there's any discussion. That's okay. So I will move that the Board of Regents approve the adjustment to the non-exempt salary structure as noted on attachment A to this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Any discussion? No, but the Chancellor has a couple comments.
Okay, Chancellor? Would you like us to vote first? Okay, so all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? And now, Chancellor, please.
Well, anticipating approval, which you have done, I want to thank the board for approving this $15 minimum wage measure, and also for making sure that the pay adjustment will take effect quickly next month. Quite simply, I believe it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for our employees, their families. It's the right thing to do for our Maryland communities, where our employees spend their money, support local businesses and jobs. And it's the right thing to do for the university system, because we rely every day on hardworking, highly skilled employees. And as Chair Atman mentioned, in this climate, if we don't pay them a competitive wage, we do risk losing them to other organizations. I want to emphasize what's been stressed already, that this is merely the first step of a multi-step process. We know that this move is going to affect other employees, employees who are currently making more than $15 an hour. So an adjustment like this has a ripple effect, and we'll be studying the full scope and scale of pay adjustments that will need to be made as a result. And we look forward to negotiating the effects of this change with the exclusive employee bargaining units. So I thank everyone who worked for this change, who supported it, and those who will be, all of us, celebrating this announcement today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chancellor. And does anyone else want to make any comments about this? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the Committee on Intercollegiate Athletics and Student Athlete Health and Welfare. As many of you know, this group started as a working group, really focused in on the graduation rates of student athletes, and over time has taken on a much greater significance for the Board of Regents. And we're so pleased that Regent Ganella has picked up the work that Barry Gossett led so well over the years and has successfully moved it from a working group to a full committee. So Regent Ganella.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and certainly some big shoes to fill with Mr. Gossett. We will do our best. But the Committee on Intercollegiate Athletics and Student Athlete Health and Welfare met on November 22nd for the first time as a standing committee. The committee includes myself, Harry Gill as the vice chair, and Regents Atman, Johnson, Gordine, Pope, Smerick, Breslin, and Peters. And Board Chair Gooden also sat in. Quite the collection of talent and expertise, I must say. And I thank them all for their service and engagement on this committee. In terms of the meeting itself, Ellen Herbst and Joe Boffman and their staff led the committee through an organizing session to review the charter as it currently stands, board policy provisions relating to athletics, and our plan for annual oversight. We heard from 3 athletic directors, Troy Dell of Frostburg, Derek Carter of Coppin, and Damon Evans of College Park. Each provided an update on issues of importance like name, image, and likeness arrangements, the impact of the Alston case that expands the educational benefits available to student athletes, and other issues specific to their institutions' athletic departments. For example, Frostburg's move to Division II. Lastly, the committee reviewed a legislative report required under the Jordan McNair Safe and Fair Play Act, which was passed last spring by the General Assembly. This report details the institutional and system policies in place related to institutions and their student athletes, and it's a public document that Dr. Zakia Lee and I collaborated in finalizing. The submitted report is available in the materials that were presented for the November 22nd meeting. And I would encourage all the board members to review to understand the institutional policies in place protecting and guiding institutions, coaches, and athletic department staff, and certainly and most importantly, their student athletes. Lastly, we're working on refining the information sharing aspects of the interrelationships and reporting between the new ICA committee and the finance and ed policy committees. Obviously, as a working group, much of this was done underneath those. And so we're now making that transition to ensure that the charters for the committees reflect the right information sharing expectations and generally the oversight and of athletics at each of our institutions. The committee next meets March 14th and will primarily be considering and reviewing athletics department finances at that meeting, with the June meeting largely focused on student athletes' academic performances and health and welfare issues. This is the first of what I expect to be many reports from this committee. Happy to take any questions if there are any. Otherwise, that concludes my report.
Are there any questions for Regent Ganella? Okay, seeing none, I would like to begin by thanking Dr. Bro for her leadership and her hospitality. This has indeed been a great session. And I'd like to congratulate Coach Wilson on being Coach of the Year. I think that it's important to note that we started the meeting this morning talking about 10.4 billion in economic development and 32,000 jobs. And so it just points out how important the work all of you do is in the success of the state and ultimately the nation. We close with the $15 minimum wage, bringing people up to a livable wage. And it shows that this board also has compassion and an understanding of the economic realities that we face. I want to congratulate Freeman on that extremely prestigious award. You always bring honor to our system, and we're very proud of you. And Dr. Wright on the street, what a legacy. Whenever we go to Salisbury, we'll always be thinking Dr. Wright. And I'd mostly like to thank my fellow regents and the system office, you presidents, the faculty, the staff, and the students for another very productive year. As the public session of this meeting closes, I am honored to chair the hardest working commission in government. I wish you all the peace of the season. May the holidays, however you celebrate them, and we all know how I celebrate them, right? Because of the red, be a time of warmth and goodwill. And may the good year bring you all good news. The Open Meetings Act permits bodies to close their meetings to the public in circumstances outlined in 3-305 of the Act, and to carry out administrative functions exempted by 3-103 of the Act. The Board of Regents will now vote to reconvene in closed session. The agenda for the public meeting today includes a written statement and a citation of the legal authority and reasons for closing the meeting, and a listing of the topics to be discussed. The statement has been provided to the Regents, and it is posted on the USM's website. Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
And before we do that, just one logistical item. We failed photography 101 at the last meeting. And so the Board of Regents has to take another picture as when we close the meeting. And so we'd like you to be on the steps right outside. So we'll gather and then go outside because it's cold. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposition? Then the meeting is closed.